Well, again, good evening, everybody. Something peaceful about an outdoor mass, isn't there? I've been having a lot of these in Southern California. All of our liturgies have to be outdoors, but there's something very peaceful and prayerful about them. And once again, please know how thrilled I am to be with you. And it does my heart so much good to see all of you gathered here at this great Catholic university, where the Spirit of the Lord is so palpably alive. It's a thrill for me to be here with you, and especially on the vigil of this great feast day. Of course, I was due here back in May before the whole world was turned upside down, but I'm delighted I can be here now in the vigil of the Feast of the Assumption. May the Blessed Mother be in our hearts and minds powerfully tonight. All the readings are wonderful tonight. Brief too, aren't they? But they're all wonderful. But I want to focus especially on that first reading from 1 Chronicles, which speaks to us of the Ark of the Covenant. So the Ark had fallen into the hands of the Philistines, and then it comes back finally into the possession of Israel. And David, in one of the most important moves of his kingly career, decides to bring the Ark into his new capital city of Jerusalem. He wanted to unite the nation, not just politically, not just militarily, but he wanted above all to unite this nation of Israel around the right praise of God. And so we hear in a great liturgical celebration, they bring the Ark into the capital city. Many years ago, when I was a doctoral student in Paris, I used to give tours at Notre Dame. One reason it breaks my heart to see Notre Dame so compromised now from that fire last year. But every Wednesday I would gather there with tourists from all over the English-speaking world, and I'd give tours. You know, the group that handled the tours told all the tour guides, now don't talk about religion. Just tell them how tall the building is and when it was built. And I never listened to that. I used it as an occasion to preach. You know, I was studying over there, but didn't have a chance to preach that often. So I would do it at Notre Dame. But one place I always stopped with my tour groups was in front of the left portal on the main facade of Notre Dame. There's a lovely statue of the Blessed Mother holding the Christ child. And then above her head is a depiction of the Ark of the Covenant. And I told the people that's a very ancient association, going back to the church fathers. As the Ark carried these great symbols of God's presence, the Ten Commandments, the staff of Aaron, etc. Mary is the Ark par excellence because she carries in her own womb the very Word of God incarnate. Mary is the true Ark of the Covenant. One of my favorite associations, of course, the Gospels are filled with this association. But we hear in 2 Samuel that David does a great festive dance before the ark as it's brought into the city. And who imitates him but John the Baptist in his mother's womb, leaping for joy, doing a sort of infant's version of David's dance in the presence of the true Ark of the Covenant. So how wonderful, everybody, all you graduates, everybody here, that we are gathered again in a festive liturgical celebration around the Ark of the Covenant, around Mary, the Mother of God. How beautiful, how appropriate that we do it. Well, what does this mean if we unpack it? This connection between Mary and the Ark. Maybe some of the older folks here, the faculty, I'm not sure the young people will remember the name Sister Wendy Beckett. Do you remember her? Sister Wendy was a cloistered, a contemplative sister from England. But some years ago now, she did a wonderful series on the history of art on PBS. And of course, she was especially good on religious art. And she said something once about Michelangelo's Roman Pietà that I've never forgotten. And in fact, I can't look at the Pietà without seeing what she made me see. Do you know, in this great sculpture, Mary is much bigger than Jesus. And it's part of Michelangelo's genius that he makes the figures look so natural together. But Mary is a much bigger figure than Jesus. Sister Wendy said, Mary is like a great mountain, and Jesus like a river running down the mountain. Now, I challenge you, once you get that in your mind, look at the Pietà and be unable to see that. You see what it means? Not, of course, that Mary's greater than Jesus. Of course not. What it means, though, is that Mary is, in this privileged way, the means by which the grace of Christ comes to us. She's the mountain down which this great river flows. She's the privileged bearer of the presence of Christ to us. She's the Ark of the Covenant. Hans Urs von Balthasar, talks about the three basic forms of the Christian life. There's the Petrine form, that means the life of office and leadership. There's the Pauline form, that's the life of proclamation, evangelization, teaching. Then there's the Johannine form, that means the life of contemplation, mysticism, liturgy, prayer. Those three great archetypes of the Christian life. But, says Balthasar, all three of them nest within this great matrix, mater, this great matrix of the Marian form. What's the Marian form? Well, we heard it, didn't we, in the gospel? The woman says, well, how blessed is the womb that bore you and the breast at which you nursed. Blessed rather, says Jesus, the one who hears the word of God and keeps it. What's the Marian form? What's this matrix in which all of Christian life unfolds, but the openness to the word of God? Balthasar uses in his German the word Bereitschaft, which means something like readiness. I hear you're a very good tennis team here at Steubenville. Is that right? Look, tennis is a good example here because think of a tennis player. A tennis player needs Bereitschaft, needs readiness, right? Because you don't know, is the ball going to come left or right, forehand, backhand? Is it going to come short, going to come long, drop shot, lob shot, top spin, side spin? You don't know, which means as you're ready, you got to be in position to go anywhere that ball dictates. You're out of shape, you don't have tennis readiness, well, then you might be lucky if your opponent happens to hit it to your forehand, but you're pretty limited in range, right? Well, see, what's the Marian form but this spiritual Bereitschaft, this spiritual readiness to follow the prompting of the Word of God, no matter what that might be. So I look at all of you now, the beginning of your careers, the beginning of your mission. How blessed are those who hear the Word of God and keep it. That's how Mary channels to us the grace of her Son. You know, as you guys go out into the world, you're going into a world characterized by what I call the culture of self-invention. I mean, the common view today is that, you know, the individual makes up his own mind. I decide what's true. I decide what's good. Don't tell me what to do. But see, biblical people stand athwart that culture, don't we? Because we know the deepest joy comes not from petty self-invention, but rather from listening to that Word of God and having a permanent attitude of openness to it, readiness to respond to it. That's what I think you, especially graduates tonight, should learn from this Marian example. You know, a second connection I want to make. You see the Ark of the Covenant in the 11th chapter of the book of Revelation. John the seer, it's as though heaven opens up and he sees into the heavenly temple and he sees there the Ark of the Covenant. And then in chapter 12, so following directly upon that vision, we have the marvelous scene of the woman clothed with the sun and with the 12-starred crown on her head. And then we hear of the great battle between that woman and the dragon. Remember? Chapter 12 of Revelation. What's being associated there? But the Ark of the Covenant, Mary, the Mother of God, and the great spiritual struggle. You know, ancient Israel would often bring the Ark into battle, bringing, as it were, the presence of God with them as they fought. Still true. You know, when I preach on the ascension of the Lord, I often say, the ascension does not mean that Jesus has gone up, and away. Goodbye, Jesus. He's gone away from us. No. Same is true of the Assumption of Mary. Oh, she's gone up far away from us. If I can stay with that military metaphor for a moment, not that they've gone far away, but rather they've gone to a higher point of vantage from which they can see the entire field across space and time, that they might direct the great operation of the church. Read now the Acts of the Apostles under that rubric. It begins with the ascension of the Lord, and then it shows how the ascended Lord directs the work of his church. So Mary, the Mother of God, the Ark of the Covenant, assumed into heaven, has not gone away from us, but rather to gather us under her banner. Think now of Mary at Tepeyac. Think of Mary at Fatima. Think of Mary at Lourdes, over and over again, up and down the tradition. Mary not far away, but intimately involved in the great fighting work of the church in the world. We're sending you out, young warriors, filled with the Spirit of Christ, to fight under the banner of the ascended Lord, of Mary assumed into heaven. Now, with the weapons of the world, of course not. Nothing as puny as that. What does Paul say? Fasten the belt of truth around your waist. Put on the breastplate of righteousness. With all of these, take the shield of faith. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. That's how you go forth, graduates. That's how you go forth. Yes, under the aegis of Mary, assumed into heaven. Mary, the Ark of the Covenant. My great spiritual hero is St. Thomas Aquinas. Thomas speaks in the Segunda Secundae in the Summa of magnanimitas. So we say magnanimity in English. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? From magna anima, great soul. By the way, Sanskrit stands behind Latin to a degree. They called Gandhi Mahatma Gandhi, right? Well, Mahatma sounds like magna anima, doesn't it? It means the same thing. The great soul. A magnanimous person is great soul. And Thomas specifies what that means. That means someone who aspires to do those things which deserve the greatest honor. Now, mind you, that's not a love of honor. It's the love of those things that merit high honor. And then he specifies further, that means doing hard things, difficult things. The magnanimous person does not shrink from the moral and spiritual challenge. Rather, he or she welcomes them. Give me a hard task. Yes, that's what I want. Not something easy. That's for the pusillanimous, right? Pusilla anima, those who have little souls. You know, as I know about Franciscan University from a distance, but everything that I've heard, and from the many graduates I do know, this is a place where magnanimous people are formed and shaped and educated. Great-souled people. Can I urge you today, under the aegis of Mary assumed into heaven, the Ark of the Covenant, to go forth from this ceremony with the great souls that have been formed here. And under her banner, do the great work of the church, which is so desperately needed in the world. Again, everybody, thank you for the degree that you gave me, which means a great deal to me. And God bless you all.